Let's look at the relationship of negative, positive. Negative, positive. And for the symbol, we're just going to use a minus and a plus sign there. And the definition of negative, positive is this: the relationship between two alternatives, one of which is denied so that the other is enforced. It is also the relationship implicit in contrasting statements. And oftentimes when you're working with negative, positive, and you'll see an example of this, your first thought will be of alternative. Your first thought will be of alternative because it is a relationship between two alternatives, but this is a specific construction where the word not and the word but are used. And so these are the key words that we see when there's a not, but construction. And you'll see that on your cheat sheet. Sometimes this can be translated from the Greek into except, but most often you'll see the key words will be not but. And when you see that, you'll draw your two arcs over the two propositions, as I've done here, and then you'll simply put a negative, not this, but that. And then you'll draw one arc over the top to signal that those two propositions are in relationship with one another, and that relationship is negative, positive. So let's look at an example of this together. This is a very common construction that you'll come across in Scripture. So Genesis 45, verse 8a, the first part of verse 8. It was not you who sent me here, Joseph says, but God. It was not you who sent me here, but God. So looking for the two propositions here that we have, it was not you who sent me here, but, and the implication, the verb is implied, but God sent me here. But God sent me here. And the key words that we see, which is what I mentioned at the beginning of the video, that your eye will go to the word but and think that this is an alternative relationship, which is true. It is true. However, the relationship between these two propositions is not a coordinate one where each of these is making an equally weighted contribution to what's going on. One proposition is in support of the other. It's a subordinate relationship. And so then we see that this is not the only key word, but it's accompanied by the word not. And we have a not, but construction. It was not, ... you who sent me here, but it was God who sent me here. So let's write down these two propositions and make this explicit. It was not you who sent me here, comma, but God. It was God who sent me here. So let's label our propositions. Verse 8, and I said this is verse 8a. It's the first part of verse 8 in chapter 45, but for the sake of our diagram, we'll label this 8, this first proposition A, second proposition B. Draw our line, draw an arc over the top of each proposition, and then because we've identified that we have a not, but alternative construction, it points us to the relationship more than simply being coordinate alternative. This is a subordinate relationship of negative, positive. And so we have the negation here and the positive affirmation here. So we'll label this negative, positive, and draw one arc over the top to say that these two propositions are in a subordinate relationship of negative, positive.